Welcome to the part 2 of my spices series, and I am beginning by grating some nutmeg. Nutmeg, you're likely not to get the already made powder. You probably get the store-bought one, and I want the one that has no preservative, nothing. So I am just grating it. Then the next thing I was doing was to roast my calabash nutmeg. Blend it using my dry blend or my mill. While I was blending it, I noticed that they were sticking together, becoming more like a paste. So I decided to hold on with that and then just begin combining the ingredients. So what you have here is some turmeric powder. To that, I'm adding coriander and cumin. I'll be listing the exact measures in my description box. I also added some fenugreek, some fennel seeds, black pepper, and some cloves. I'm adding some garlic powder, not a lot of it, just a little, and then the grated nutmeg, I added that to it as well, and I'm going to give this a nice stir. What I'm doing here is curry powder, but curry powder with so many beautiful added spices. Now the main ingredients of curry powder is the turmeric, the cumin, and the coriander. So those are like three basic ingredients with curry powder. Aside that, you can add in any local spice of your choice, and that's what I did. Also, to extend the shelf life of the spices, I included some salt. Okay, this will ensure that they last longer on the shelf. So I'll just go ahead and blend this nice and smooth. If you've not watched part 1 of this video, I'll leave the link for you to see it. What I did was to introduce various spices. I cleaned them nicely and I roasted them. So this went through a whole process before I began combining it. When you are doing this, kindly note that turmeric stains a lot, so it's likely to leave your blender, your stuff stained. Now, there was one ingredient that I forgot to add, which is important to me when I'm making curry, and that is ginger. And so that's dry ginger that I added to that. Another thing that I added later on was some bay leaves. Okay, so all I did was to blend all these ingredients together, mix it nicely, and here we have our homemade curry powder. As easy as that. So as I said, so the first one I did, I was doing everything for my friend, and it's supposed to last her for a year. There were some of the ingredients left, and so I'm like, okay, let me just combine this and do a second batch. So as you can see, the second batch, I added calabash nutmeg that I didn't add in the first round, and I also added some bay leaves. And as I mentioned, the exact measures will be available for you if you are interested. But then I love how intense the flavors of the color of this curry came out. This is not your regular curry that you see on the market, homemade, and you get to control what you want in there. So I got 2 bottles from what I did. There was a little left, and I was going to keep that for suya because I'll be making some suya spice for her as well. So now I just clean it nicely and then cover it, and we are done with our curry. Yeah, got 2 containers and a little left. So the next thing that we'll be doing or combining is KELEWELE spice. She asked for some KELEWELE spice, and so for that one, main ingredients are pepper, ginger. If you want the street taste to KELEWELE, please do not omit calabash nutmeg. It has a unique taste to it. I'm adding some cloves as well, and I added some onions to this from the beginning. If you notice, those were onions. I'm adding some negro pepper. The onions, I didn't want to add a lot, okay, and of course a little salt to preserve it. I didn't want to add a lot of onions to the kelewele spice because onions has the ability of caking, and so if I have a lot of them in it, it's likely to kick up the spices it's likely to become solid, and I wouldn't want that. I would want that to last for, as I mentioned, over a year. So that is how come I didn't use a lot of it. But what you can do is that when you are going to prepare it, you can grate some onions, okay, some fresh onion to it, just to make amends to the little that you have in here. But then you can do without it because after all there's some onion taste in here as well. So I blended that, and then just to ensure that these things are like nice and smooth, I sieved them. Okay, I sieved them towards the end. Towards the end, you can see that they are all nicely blended and they are rough. They can pass through the sieve. I just add everything. For the kelewele spice, I just got one bottle and a little. I didn't get a lot. I think I should have added more powder. But I didn't get a lot. Now the next thing that we are combining is some pepper soup spice, and what went into it, some black pepper, some cloves, some calabash nutmeg, some alligator pepper, some cumin, aniseed, okay, aniseed, and negro pepper. So these spices, I call them, they are spices for soup, pepper soup. Okay, use it to steam your meat, and whenever you want to make like authentic Ghanaian zongo stew, you add the spices to it, you are good to go. Okay, so use this to steam your meat, your beef. Can work for your chicken as well. Like honestly, most of the spices that I'm sharing here can work for anything. Yeah, so but this, my intention for doing this is for that intense flavor in soup to spice your meat, and also for your stew if you want that zongo taste. And the great thing is that even if you are going to blend your ginger, your pepper and onions, you can add a bit of this to give you like kelewele as well. So this is all packed, all packed. So for this one too, I got 2 bottles and a little left, which will also go into the suya spice that I would do. Okay, so nicely done. Now this one that you can see here is similar to what I just shared, and it's been with me for over 2 years. At this point, I don't even want to finish because I want to see how long it will go, and I didn't even add salt to it. So for it to last me for that long without salt, I'm so confident that this will last. I'll be waiting for feedback from my friend. So I have with me here the herbs. As you see, I started putting rosemary out, and I'm like, you know what, let me just add in the herbs that I don't need to blend. Okay, so some basil, some oregano, some parsley. I added some of my garlic powder. I needed some pepper in there for the cake. I made a mistake and I added the star anise to this particular one, but I have one that I will blend, and so I added the star anise to it. As you can see, I have some paper by me and I'm just trying to list the ingredients for you people. So I also add in all my nutmeg, the calabash nutmeg, and then just the typical nutmeg. Added some fennel, added some ginger, some cloves, some onions. So these are the ones that I will blend. So the ones that I won't blend, they're in the silver one, and the ones that I'll blend, they're in the transparent one. And again, when it comes to onions and garlic, at this point you don't want to add a lot, just a little goes a long way. And I am naming this complete seasoning. These are herbs together with the spices that are going to work perfectly with your chicken, especially, and also serve as a dry wrap for your steak and all of that. So I have mixed the ones that I don't need to blend, and I want them as they are. And then the ones that I have to blend, I'm adding a little of the rock salt to it as well. So again, to preserve the shelf life of it. And then I'll just go ahead and blend this. Okay, so I blended this 2 times. I blend this in this big stuff, and then when I was done, I just transferred it into my meal and blended it. I don't know if that made sense. But then I added some bay leaves as well. So as you can see, this is all nicely blended, and I've added it to the ones that I didn't need to blend, and I have what I call complete seasoning. See, a little of this in your chicken stew, your turkey. Like, I feel like everything I'm sharing here is like they are all peppers, people, all peppers. So why have you not liked my video? Please give it a thumbs up. Give it a thumbs up, and let me know if you are trying to do this as a business. Just come and tell me, and let my head be big small that, oh, I watched your video and then I started a business. Like, come and tell me, I beg. Anyway, so I just go ahead and then cover this up nicely. I got 4 huge bottles from this, and that made me so happy. This means that more spices for my friend is going to last for long. Yeah, so the next spice I'm doing, I called it a taste of India. It's cardamom, it's cumin, it's fennel, it's alligator pepper, it's bay leaves, it's the star anise, mixing everything together. I'll continue and add the fenugreek. Sorry, I'll add the black pepper. Like almost all the spices that I've introduced, I am adding. And you didn't see cinnamon, eh? I've added cinnamon to it. I've added some calabash nutmeg, and I'm grating more nutmeg. I added fennel. I added thyme to it as well. So I'll mix all of this together. Basically, at this point, I was like, you know what, all the spices that are left, let me just combine it and make this, what the Indians will call ground masala. Sometimes, like as I mentioned, I've tried a couple of Indian dishes, and I love how intense their spices are. Okay, with the cumin, with the cinnamon, with the cardamom in there. So I've named this a taste of India. So these were the rest of the ingredients. As I mentioned, the onions that were left and everything, I'm adding it. Please make sure at all times your onion components are not too much. So quickly we go to the next spice, which is suya. So yeah, I'm sorry if this video is all over the place. I'll try and then make them into smaller videos, like shorter videos as well. Okay, so after sharing the full video, I'll be sharing the individual recipes in another one. So I blended my granules. Okay, what you saw, I've peeled it, everything, grated it, and then the spices that I did, okay, I've added that to it. I've added some ginger powder, I've added some powder, some garlic powder, and I'm adding some salt. Okay, and I'm going to mix this, and you saw the spices that I've done, like they were really packed. So the homemade curry, the taste of India, the as for the ginger powder, I blended it and added it to it, and pepper. Okay, so the granules, whenever I have a recipes, like I've shared about 2 or 3 suya recipes already, and for all of them I do them differently. So usually after you blend the granules, we roast them and then we try and extract the oil. But I didn't do that for this recipe. After blending it, and you don't want to blend it too smooth, because once your groundnut, as soon as you blend it to a certain point, it starts becoming paste. Okay, so at this time it was a bit rough. Okay, and so I added all the spices, and what I am doing is to sieve it. So once I sieve it, the ones, especially with the granules, the ones that were not blended very well, I'll just go ahead and sieve them out so that I can blend them again into a finer consistency. Okay, so now this is all of them, all the ingredients put together, and then I have sieved it. Okay, so once I'm done sieving it, I'll now go ahead and roast this. So I have changed the whole process, and this also worked very well because it made it easy for me to be able to get the granules out and blend together with the other ingredients without it forming into a paste. So initially I was roasting everything. I felt like now it was too much. I had to break them into batches. So I go ahead and roast them in smaller batches. While this was roasting, there are very important things to note. You are roasting this under low heat. We are roasting this to extract the oils in the granules. Okay, because if the oils are in the granules, the shelf life of this will not last long. Okay, so into my parchment paper, I have lined some tissue papers, and for this I have shared it in most of my my soya spice videos. Okay, and once it's heated, once you've roasted it and it's hot, you are able to extract the oil. You are able to extract as much oil when it is hot. So I line my parchment paper with a tissue or kitchen towel, paper towel. Then I will now go ahead and then fold them nicely, and with the help of the parchment paper, roll it over. Originally, what most people do with suya is to, after roasting the granules, they keep it in their kitchen napkins, a clean kitchen napkin, and it's supposed to soak up the oil. I find that to be such a task, for me, please, personally, because I feel like it will leave your kitchen napkin with a lot of oil that you have to wash it. Your kitchen napkin will never remain the same, per my thoughts. Okay, so I decide to use tissue or kitchen towels or paper towels. Okay, and so once they soak it, then I'm able to discard it. So for this one, and that is why, how come I add the parchment paper underneath it, so that once I roll it, okay, it doesn't the tissue paper, they are likely to what do you call it? I'm looking for the right word. It can tear easily, but then when it's covered under with the parchment paper, it doesn't tear. Okay, it's able to stay intact. So basically, this is what I have done, and ideally what we do is to squeeze it so that we are able to extract as much oil as possible. But this is a lot, and I was tired and I don't have the energy to now come and squeeze all these oils out. So this is what I do. I place them well over my surface, and then I'm going to put heavy stuff, and these cookwares, ankasa, they are heavy. So I'm just loading them, pressing it on it, and then of course the final thing I'll be adding, so these two cast irons plus my asanka, my earthenware bowl, which is also very heavy. I packed them on. This was evening. In fact, did I say I spent the whole day doing these things? This was evening, so I left it. I went to sleep. This is the next morning. We are up by God's grace. And so this is what is happening. As you can see, even with the tissue that I packed, you can see that oil had gone through it and even come through the parchment paper. So what I'm doing is turning it. So this is the next morning. I decided to turn it and then, put the saucepan on it again, just so I get to extract more. So that's what I did. I did that for the whole day. I left it on for the whole day and then came back to check on it only in the evening. Okay, so in the evening, I came once again, checked on it and turned it again. So the only time I took this, so let me say, I did it one evening, left it. It was there the whole day, was there for another evening. That's like 24 hours plus 12 hours. That's like 36 hours. So this after 36 hours, I just come and then I'm hoping that at this point, yes, most of the oil, if not all, would have been extracted. And so I get to release this thing. And also at this point, please use gloves if you want this thing to keep long. You don't want to be touching it with your hand. It's peanuts and granules. Yeah, they are very some way they can disgrace you. Okay, so you don't want to physically touch them. Also because of the spices that's been used, it's very intense, and yeah, you don't want to burn yourself. Yeah, it's hot. There's hot pepper in this. So you can see it's free. The almost of the oils have been extracted. Personally, when I make my suya, I don't keep it on my shelf because of the granules. I don't keep it on my shelf. I know this can last on the shelf, but I keep it in my fridge. I have one in my fridge that I'm observing. Yes, that has passed over a year now. It's safe and intact in the fridge. I want to see how long it can last in the fridge. I should have kept one on the shelf to see how long it will last on the shelf. Next time I do it, I'll keep one on the shelf and see how long it will last on the shelf as well. But for the suya, I recommended to my friend to keep it in the fridge as soon as she gets to her destination, even though it's a cold place. Just to be safe, just keep it in the fridge. Yeah. So basically that's it. I think for that I got 2 bottles. I didn't get a full 2 bottles. I got just 2 bottles of that, and that brings us to the end of the spice combinations. As I said, I'll make individual videos for them when I get the time. And yeah, I hope this was helpful. I'll talk about the pricing, how much I got the spices for, how much I got the bottles for, what I did after putting it in the bottle, because I had to list it for her to be able to differentiate, from the spices. I'll be sharing that in my other video. And so thank you so much for watching. Yeah. Just do all the beautiful things, like, subscribe, share to help someone, okay, and to support me. Okay, if you enjoyed it, if you learned something, to say, oh, thank you, Siana King, just subscribe for me. I'll see you again in another video. Do stay safe and stay blessed. Bye.